Yo, so I just sent a picture of Anja Ambrosio as well as my picture to my parents because it's pictures where I think we look similar enough to where it's like I think I'm Anja Ambrosio's biological father, um, or that there's something weird going on there. In any instance, where she's even actively communicated at me in the same way. Um, I've been describing that her mom has done that. Like even here, like this is from her, um, and I just like I think something weird is going on, and I'm just trying to explain to my mom kind of the situation. She's like, "Well, it's weird because you've never met this woman that you're saying these are your kids," and it's like, yeah, that's why this is disconcerting and difficult on top of whatever else. So here, give me a moment. Um, oh, hey, Cindy Crawford's Skin Secrets. The most important. um, no, kind of what I was getting at is I think people are doing weird stuff, like strange things, and I could tell you my reasons as to why I think that is, but I just think that they are doing it. And, probably for the same reasons, like what you're saying, if just like I've been trying to explain, like if I was to explain the thing that was going on with P Diddy or Jeffrey Epstein to you, you would say that like that doesn't sound real, right? And what I'm trying to say is that people are doing weird shit these days. Like they've been doing it, but now they're like, you know, they're getting caught doing it. And I'm telling you, I think some people have done something to me that is really wrong, and that it, it's not easy. And I think I'm handling it, as well as I can. And I'm also not trying to make it that like something that is like,
Well, what have they done to you that's created this idea that you have that those are your kids? What have they done to you?
well, one of the things is they communicated towards me, and my suggestion is that they've been using a form of image communication where they're using images like content that they're creating that's going on their social media in certain instances where they're trying to communicate at me without directly communicating at me or with me because it's plausibly deniable because some
Yeah, but we're talking about sperm.
oh how did they get my sperm
Yeah.
my suggestion is, and it lines up with the timeline here, is that when I got like one of my early sexual encounters, maybe my first sexual encounter, uh, the girl spit, and that she kept it and gave it to someone. That's what I think happened because it perfectly lines up with this girl's age that I sent you the uh, with Anja Ambrosio's age. It like I believe it perfectly lines up, and you know why? I can tell you why I think, but it doesn't really you don't want to believe that I'm special in a way where, oh, Matt's really actually special. So if you don't believe that, I mean, I guess I'm just a random guy, but I don't think people would do this to no for no reason other than, I guess, yeah, some people are doing fucked up stuff to other people for entertainment purposes. I mean,
I
that
don't
is
know how. I mean, you're telling me that you never had sex with this woman, but you had sex with some woman, and
that a
she.
girl in high school gave me a blowjob, yes, and that I think she spit my semen out, and that she put it in a vial or something and gave it to this woman. That's what I think. Something like that. I don't know of the exact thing. I can't tell you positively, but I do think that something like that has happened. Yes, or it's possible that it's happened. But I'm telling you that there is something weird going on around this situation. That like there's something weird going on with people towards me, and like I can't force you to believe what I'm saying, uh, and I'm not trying to make this become an issue, a point of contention between us. But I also don't want it to be completely something that I just never talk about again, because I
I
do.
just don't understand how you can go from having sex with this woman, or at least that she's giving you a blowjob, to now you got a son and daughter out there. I mean, I just don't understand how you can go from that point.
Well, you take the semen and you insert it into a different woman. I mean, that's how you go from it. Now, I think what you're saying is you don't understand the reasoning why this girl that I would have done this would have given this other woman.
I mean, you live in Houston, and you were going to school in Arlington, and all of a sudden
No, in Richardson. But
Richardson,
I'm not
but-
talking. We're talking pre that situation. This was when I was in high school. I do think
I mean, this woman didn't live in Houston,
no.
and I just don't understand why.
Well, it's in the same way that, okay, we live in America. We don't just live in Houston, right? Does that make sense? And there's some weird shit going on in America, and like I'm trying to explain that the weird shit that's going on. First of all, it doesn't have to be explicable or make sense to the like why. Why? To be honest, I can't tell you why. I can tell you why I think, but I can't tell you why. And what I can give you a how, like I already just have, where I'm like, I think this girl that I got a blowjob from, that she kept the semen and she gave it to someone, maybe for money. I don't know. And her name would have been Nikki Dunn. I mean, like, I can tell you who I think this is, and I think it happened sometime in 2007, right before, like, the first semester of my junior year, I think. I mean, like, yeah, I think something weird happened then, and had happened since then too. And that the things that I was noticing previously that were bothering me, I think, are things that have been attached to this situation because something weird is going on. And I think that people know about it, some people, and I think that, some of it has been like they don't want. I don't think they wanted even me to know really what was going on, and that I figured out something was going on, and that this is partly attached to what I think it is. So anyway, I mean, I'm just telling you that I think that this is the case, and like you don't have to like I can't force you to believe me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, you're not giving me anything that makes sense. So
here's my question: does the P Diddy stuff make sense to you?
P. Diddy's got nothing to do with it.
It does kind of have something to do with it because it has something to do with, hey, there's a famous celebrity attached to a bunch of other famous celebrities, and he was doing things with these other celebrities. Same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. That's why these people, that at least conceptually they are important, is that they are people in positions of power that, where you're saying, well, I don't get why these people would do it. It doesn't matter that you don't get why P. Diddy is acting a fool or Epstein was acting a fool. They were, is like the reality. And that, I understand when you're saying like, well, you aren't giving me a good reason. I
didn't say you're not giving me a good reason. You're not giving me any facts that substantiate what you're saying. No
exactly.
facts.
I can only give you circumstantial evidence because I don't have
You haven't given me any circumstantial evidence.
I can only give you. I mean, I do think it's circumstantial evidence that this woman's kids look like me and she's communicating towards me in various methods.
So she's communicating with you. She's texting you. She's calling you.
No, towards me, exactly like I'm saying. using a plausibly deniable form of communication using images and communicating like so an example of that is like I made videos where I'm discussing this situation, and like the video that is on my screen as I'm discussing it is Iceland, and I'm explaining, talking about it, and I explain like, hey, I'm making this mix, and as I'm going over the mix, I'm watching the volcanic eruption going on in Iceland, and then all of a sudden, she and her son go to Iceland, seemingly to make a point about like, and go to the volcanoes. The volcanoes shut off as soon as they got there, and we're going to go to them. But it's the idea of it's like a plausibly deniable form of communicating to me or at me, and like what facts can I give you? I can't give you any. I can say that, or I don't know. I can't outline exactly the facts, but I can give you what I believe is going on, why I believe it's going on, things like that.
Any facts that are consistent with each other?
No, everything I've said is consistent with each other. So that's not real. It's that I can't give you facts of the case. I can't give you direct evidence like, DNA. I can't do that. No, I don't have the resources to DNA test these kids. I don't have the, whatever. But I can say they don't look like the guy who's purported to be their father. They look more like me than that. And AI seems to think that the similarities to me are like enough that it triggers a similar thing as opposed to dissimilar in like an AI image checker. So there's enough similarity that it seems to think that there's something. But like, no, I can't, and I'm not trying to get into some kind of argument with you. I'm just trying to tell you.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to tell you.
I got you.
That you go A, B, C.
Well, there's really nothing I can do to prove out my part, but I can say that, hey, I'm pretty sure these kids are mine. Like, I'm just trying to show them to you so that you understand. Like, well, this is the reality that I live in, where I do think that this has happened to me, and like, kind of my point is like. Hypothetically, I'm a victim of something in the same way that the Jeffrey Epstein people are victims of things, or like P. Diddy's people for a long time have been victims, but they could never get, there was something like preventing him from getting in trouble, essentially. And all of a sudden, I think he stepped over a line, and the people that were preventing him from getting in trouble have allowed him to get in trouble, because that's the idea, is that you have blackmail on everybody and you can control everybody. That's the, I think that's the modus operandi of people.
I just think you're just going over the line with thinking that there's some relationship between this thing that you think is some kind of end result with some kind of beginning behavior, that there's no relationship between this beginning behavior and the end result. I don't see a relationship.
I don't know. Even the way you just described it there didn't make sense. Like, it was not. That wasn't. I don't get your point from that. Well, you're saying the beginning behavior.
Well, I'm just telling you that, if you get a blowjob from somebody, and then the next thing that you're getting to.
Well, so here's the thing. That wasn't my starting point. That was just my. Hey, these kids look like me. Okay, this girl looks like me, and like, I think it's being hinted at me. It's either being hinted at me that I'm her father, or like someone's trying to hint at it, or the idea is they don't want that, and I just noticed like, hey, she looks similar. It was actually the son that really I was like, he looks similar to me, and he doesn't have any of the features of the guy Jamie Mazur, who's supposed to be his, like, who he is his purported biological father. His features look more like my features, and I even think the guy that I'm talking about, I think he has somewhat similar looking to me, and that was on purpose. But I don't think that the kids look enough. Like, I think they look more like me than him. And, you know, like, then it went down to, well, if this girl was my daughter, right, how would it had to have happened? And so I go back in my head and I go, well, I hadn't had sex with anybody yet, so they wouldn't have been able to get my DNA. Well, when did I have, like, when was the first time that I hooked up with any girl? Okay, I think I was a junior in high school, and that, you know, the only girl that could have lined up with this timeline of, like, making this probable that this, that Alessandra Ambrosio's daughter is my daughter is, this situation where I told you with Nikki Dunn, where in, I think it's the first semester of junior year in high school that she gave me, or like right at the beginning of second semester, that she gave me a blowjob, and I don't remember. I don't think she spit. I don't know if she spit, swallowed. I don't know what happened. I just, like, I wasn't paying attention then because I was a 16-year-old kid and I didn't think this was something, like, I didn't think this could be a consequence, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't, you know, I don't know what consequences are. I'm a 16-year-old idiot, so I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but the consequences don't make. I mean, how the consequences come about between that act and what you're saying.
I think your focus is on that act, and my focus isn't really particularly on that act. My focus is that, hey, I think these are my kids, and, like, in order for this to be possible, is there a situation that could have arisen where she could have gotten my semen somehow? And that is the situation that I can point to in my head. There's, like, really only one situation. There's really only one time that they could have done it. It wasn't like I was going around getting lots of blowjobs or whatever. I'm thinking of this time where this girl, you grabbing your leg hurt, your thigh, right above your knee, like right where my leg hurts. Yeah, that's what I've been suggesting, that someone's able to strike people, or like, if you're, I think it's a way that someone could strike you from a distance using a special technique. Like, I'm kind of elucidating what I think the technique is.
Well, I just don't understand how you get I just don't understand that.
I think you're caught up on the wrong thing. Like, the first, like,
I'm a lawyer. That's what lawyers get caught up on, is how do you get from A to Z?
I think
that makes sense. B makes sense. C makes sense.
I get what
D
you're
makes
saying.
sense.
We're not at Z. We're at, this is where I'm at, okay? So just, like, re-listen to what I'm saying here, because part of it is, like, you're kind of wanting the whole story, and I don't have the whole story. I'm trying to be a private investigator, and I don't have the resource to, like, go over there.
Yeah,
I just have a
you're coming up with
plausible scenarios that it's the only way that this could work out. And so that's what I'm getting.
Because you think those kids look like you. I don't.
Well, AI does, and AI is unbiased, and you're biased. Your bias is you don't want people to have done something this evil to me, because it puts both of us, it puts everybody in this household in a situation where we're vulnerable.
That's got nothing to do.
That
with
is
it.
absolutely it. Like, the kid looks like me. AI thinks it. I think it.
You're coming up with some kind of pathway or some kind of sequence of events that don't make sense.
Well, to you, because you don't want to believe it. But, like, let me say this.
I'm a lawyer. Do you remember that? I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's not what I do or don't want to believe.
Yeah, it
That's not
is.
the way.
You have a bias on this one. You do not want to believe that these are my kids, which I can understand.
You haven't told me anything that would make me believe they are. Nothing. You've told me nothing that would make me believe that.
Here's my question. This is just a hypothetical. Hypothetically, like, hear me out. Hypothetically, they are my kids. Can you put yourself in that headspace?
No.
Then this is like, we can't do any exercise even on this, and you really, if that's why I think you have a bias, is that you can't, because otherwise you'd just be like, all right, sure, I'll placate Matt and I'll put myself in this headspace, but you won't even do that. You're just like, I won't even entertain this, and I'm telling you, like, I'm asking you to entertain it and at least say, can you put yourself in the headspace where these are my kids, right?
No. You haven't told me.
I don't need to tell you or prove it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is there a hypothetical situation where you can put yourself in the headspace to where these are my kids?
No.
Like, I don't have to tell you or give you evidence. All you got to do is put yourself in the headspace that, like, okay, in order to placate you, I'll think to myself, yes, these are your kids. And you can't even do that, which is why I'm saying, like, that seems like a bias.
I'm a lawyer. That's not the
lawyers.
way
Lawyers put
that is
themselves
not
in
the way my
hypothetical
brain
situations. That's not.
It is not
Stop.
the way
Stop.
my brain
Listen.
works.
Listen. Lawyers put themselves in hypothetical situations that they know may or may not be true all the time, in order to see something in another perspective. That is, like, in order hypothetically even to play devil's advocate, right? So can you play the advocate on this one where you're able to put yourself in the opposite headspace? If not, I mean, there's no point in doing this. My point is, like, in this hypothetical situation where they are my kids, but I can't even get you to believe. Like, I can't even get you to put yourself in a hypothetical situation where they are my kids.
You haven't even given me enough information for me to
put yourself in a hypothetical situation. That's not true. You just do it. You just say, okay, hypothetically they're your kids. What?
I don't know. The whole thing is too bizarre.
I know it's a weird, distressing thing. That's why I'm distressed over it, and it's really uncomfortable and hurtful that you just can't put yourself in a hypothetical space where these are.
You haven't given me enough information for me to do that.
That's not true. All you got to do is do it. Like, all you got to do is put it. I'm not trying to prove it out to you. What you're asking me to do is prove my case, and I'm saying I don't need to in order to get you to put yourself in a hypothetical, right?
I don't even know what that means. You haven't given me
so stop.
Information.
Can you put yourself in like what I'm suggesting when I'm saying hypothetical? I'm saying, can you put yourself in an imaginary headspace that you don't believe currently, but you put yourself in this hypothetical headspace that I'm correct? You can't even do it as a hypothetical, as a thought experiment.
I cannot even do it as that because
then
you haven't given me enough information.
I don't need to give you any information for you to do it as a thought experiment. That's why I'm going to leave here, because my point is, some people are.
If I were in your situation, I would be very concerned about the thinking that you're.
I think it's very concerning that you don't even understand what a hypothetical situation is. I'm like trying to get you. I do think these people, like, there's some connection, even if they aren't my kids. There's something going on with this woman towards me, and I think that's what the whole thing in the past was about.
Is she communicating with you?
They have. I mean, how do you want to know those earrings that you have? How do you think you have those?
I don't know. You saw them on the internet.
I'm telling you that's not the case. So, like, how do you think you have those earrings?
Well, I mean, it's I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Okay, so now it's like I've made a point that it's like, well, now you have to engage that she sent me these earrings, and you would have to engage at some, like, there is some form of communication going on. And, like, I think it's odd that you're pretending like you don't even understand what a hypothetical situation is.
You're not even talking to me about anything that's happened, any kind of.
I think you're just, like, I don't know, man. I can't get you to even, like, entertain a hypothetical scenario. And, like, that's something you don't need evidence to do. That's just, like, put yourself, like, okay, hypothetically, Matt's correct. If you can't do that, I know you're BSing, because you can do that with anything. You could do that with Santa being, here with us.
Stop, man. It's just.
Okay, I love you. I'm going to go to my room. I love you. Good night.
You're not giving enough information.
For you to create a hypothetical situation, or for you to even say, like, okay, well, hypothetically, I can entertain this. I don't think that's reality. I think you're just saying whatever, and I'm going to go to my room. I love you. Good night.
Good night.
I do want to say this. This is my point with the hypothetical. Hypothetically, they are my kids. Can you imagine how stressful and hurtful it is that this is going on? I can't prove that they're my kids. I'm like, like it's causing me mental distress and emotional distress and spiritual distress and I think physical distress and like I just want like
There's not enough facts for you to be distressed. Reasonably.
the thing is if it's reality and I just can't prove out the facts, that's my point. This is my hypothetical. If it's reality but I can't prove out the facts, but they've done this and it's hurting me.
It's not. It can't be reality.
It can be
You
reality.
don't have a-
No. My whole point with this is, reality isn't what a lawyer or a judge decides. Reality is reality. What has actually happened. Just because I can't prove it doesn't mean it's not real.
It's not that you can't prove it. You can't give me enough facts to go from A to Z. You just can't.
The way you're even asking me to lay out my case is irrational. I've given you some facts. You don't want to believe. You don't want to believe the facts. You don't want to believe the whatever. You don't even want to believe that the kids look like me when the AI says you're wrong and the kids look like me.
I don't know what this AI stuff has got to do with anything.
AI is able to distinguish features better than humans are. It's able to pick from faces like the exact characteristics and qualities, and it's able to tell you whether something matches or not. And it doesn't have a bias, at least not one like you're going to have or like I'm going to have. It's just going to say, compare the faces that it's seen, look at the face that I'm talking about, look at my face, and make a judgment. It's not going to have biases. But anyway, my whole point is that it's very difficult if it is happening, and this is how it's being treated by like my support system, and it's just hard. But I love you. I'm going to go to my room. I'm not trying to make this.
What you need to have is you need to have a support system who's not a lawyer, number one.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Someone who actually has an imagination, who could like put themselves in possibility land, in a place where people do these evil things like we're seeing on the news all the time.
No, you can't even tell me what evil things you're talking about.
Yeah, I can, but you don't want to believe. So it's like, I can tell you the evil things, and then you're like, well, you haven't laid out facts from A to Z, so why should I believe the evil things? I love you, Mom. I'm just going to go to my room. Good night. Okay. Do you see how this is very difficult, right? Like, I can't even get her to put herself in, like, a hypothetical scenario of me, like, hey, okay, these kids, Alessandra, like, Alessandra Ambrosio's kids, Anja Ambrosio, as well as I think Aline Ambrosio's kids, Dylan and Liam, I think look like me. When I've run an AI, the AI seemed to think there was enough similarity between the picture of me that I put in and the picture of Noah Ambrosio that I put in. When I look at it, he just has the same nose. He has he has my nose mixed a bit with Alessandra's nose. That's what it looks like to me. Similarly, looking at Anja Ambrosio, she has it looks like she has my nose mixed with Alessandra's nose, but there's more of Alessandra's nose in it. Whereas with Noah, it looks more like Noah Ambrosio has my nose and a little bit of with looks like Noah Ambrosio has my nose with a little bit of Alessandra's nose mixed in, whereas Andra's nose looks a little bit like it looks like Alessandra's nose with a little bit of my nose in there. That's how I see it. But I can't see them in person. But kind of my whole point with this is like, I'm asking my mom even to do this thought experiment. Can you even put yourself in a hypothetical scenario? And she can't. And I think it's like, I have a feeling she knows and is participating to some degree. Or it's just, I don't know. Because it seems like I can hardly believe that she can't even, like, I don't know what a hypothetical scenario is. It's like, shut the fuck, there's no way. How are you saying you're a lawyer, you don't know what a hypothetical scenario is? You know what I mean? Like, you can't put yourself, you can't even play devil's advocate in this situation, right? Where it's like, all right, let me put myself on the other side of the argument. Like, I don't believe that. I believe she doesn't want to put herself on the other side of the argument, on my side, and to even like engage that it's possible. Why? I don't know. She could have allowed this to happen, or I don't know. I mean, reasonably legally, she can't have allowed it to happen. So I don't. There's not like a. There's not like an actual thing. Like if Anja Ambrosio is my daughter, like that would have had to have happened when I was 16. My mom can't. My mom even then can't be like, well, I'm his guardian, and so I can allow this. No, it's like that's still not okay. In any instance, I didn't consent if they're my kids. Like, I would like to like Anja and Noah, but like the idea of them being birthed without my consent, or like seemingly with the attempt to keep me from knowing that it's happening, and I only figured it out by spending long enough trying to perceive what's going on to me, and like being open to the fact that I don't know completely, but I'm trying to figure out. And like it does seem like someone has done something to me or towards me that is really wrong, you know? And I'm just like you know, she's my support system. Like, my parents are my support system. They should be able to help me with this. Like, on top of people literally stealing money from me multiple times, stealing my car from me multiple times, seemingly they've stolen my children from me and like are keeping them hostage. You know what I mean? Uh, it just seems really fucked up. And like, it's, to me it looks like Anja and Noah are willingly, like, they don't. I'm not their dad to them. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't know. I guess some guy that, like, I don't know, a sperm donor or something. The guy that their mom like raped or something, or like paid some girl to. Because again, it had to be a. I wouldn't have done it if the situation around me wasn't a fake scenario. Like, if I knew that my high school was just like a fake reality type thing. I mean, I would have. And which, I realize now, like when I was younger, my view of the world was what is closer to what it actually looks like, where there's evil people that are doing evil things, lying about stuff and trying to pretend. And it was only for a period of time, like between, I don't know, middle school to like some point in middle school, this like now, or like very, very into elementary school, where like what was put in front, the illusion or whatever that was put in front of me, that I was like buying it wholesale. But I don't anymore, in the sense, like, clearly there's something going on around me, I can't prove out what. And then like my mom, the way she wants it to be is like, well, you can't act without evidence. It's not even without evidence. I think I have evidence. It's that you can't act without the judge having decided that your evidence is correct. Even if, like, my whole point with this is, if I'm correct, right? If I'm right about this situation, and if I'm right about this situation, and they're my kids, like, kind of what I'm getting at is, like, I already have to have the evidence. Like, the whole argument that she had where she's like, well, you haven't provided me enough evidence. And my point is, like, look, just as in the real world, as like some people are really good criminals, right? And they I don't know, they don't leave any evidence. They make it really hard for them to be prosecuted by, legally, right? But that doesn't mean they didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, you could have the prosecutor knows dead to rights and some of the evidence is inadmissible. It's like that. What I think is like, hey, yeah, I think some intelligence service has to know something fucking happened. You know what I mean? Like someone has to know something. Uh, as I'm watching this, and all of a sudden Hebrew popped up. Yeah, someone has to know something, right? That something has happened here, right? And I just like I don't know, like what what can I do to get her to even like consider it as a possibility, or to put herself in the headspace to where it's like, well, look, I love my son, like I want to I want him like I don't want him to feel so bad. I want to understand where his head is. So let me put myself in the headspace. She can't even do that according to her. And it's because I can't provide the evidence. It's like, well, you don't need evidence to be like, if I'm like put yourself in the time of the dinosaurs in your head. I don't need to bring you like a whole T-Rex fossil for you to put yourself in the headspace that we're in the time of the dinosaurs. You can just put yourself in that headspace and be like, oh, there's dinosaurs all around us, like mentally, right? I don't understand how she can't do that with like, hey, there's this situation where I'm pretty sure this woman somehow got my semen and bred me. Yeah, it's very odd. It's very like, I can tell you why I think they did it or that she did it, but I can't prove that she did it. I can't prove why she did it, but I can't even prove that she did it. I just believe it happened, and I don't believe it for no reason. Like I do think there are some reasons that that I can point out where like this has happened and this is why, and I don't think I should like, in order to get her to even like consider that it's a possibility, I don't think I should have to provide enough like if I could provide the evidence that she's asking for, it wouldn't even be me uh it wouldn't even be me like giving her evidence that she could then use to put herself in the headspace. It would literally just be me proving it out, and then it's true at that point, and like there's not, then like you should be in my headspace, and what, and this situation is terrible, and like I need some kind of remedy and you should help me. You could hear earlier, like like I was doing a pumpkin carving thing and I was recording and we were talking about it. And one of the things that she was saying is like, we're talking and she's like, well, if you could get their DNA, and my point has been like, well, like, yeah, I'd be, if you could go, I even said this in the video that I recorded earlier, the one that says, stop harming Israel or whatever. If I could go to California, go through Anja Ambrosio's trash, like her family trash can, and pull out the trash of her trash, Anja's trash, and Noah's trash, and DNA test them exactly how they knew what's his name, Yahya Sinwar, was in the tunnels that he was in, as they found a tissue that I guess he had blown his nose on, and they were able to get his DNA from it, or they were able to get a tissue, whether it's his nose or he did something else with the tissue. It's the idea that you get the tissue from, you can get DNA from a tissue or a can, or something that these people have used. And my point has been, yeah, okay, if I could get their DNA and test them, that would conclude, there would be a conclusive, definitive yes or no on these things, and then I could move on, right? But I can't do that. And if they are my kids, then like in her situation, you have a bigger problem. First of all, the bigger problem is people did do this to me and have been fucking with me for years, and I've been trying to tell you that, and you keep wanting concrete evidence to the point where I could prove my case in a court of law, And I'm just gonna be honest with you, I do not fucking have that, and there's no way that I could get that without already having some sort of ability, like some kind of police ability or detective ability. Like, I guess I could just go to myself. I could, like, this is what I'm saying. I guess I could just fly to Los Angeles, or maybe I could call my cousin up and be like, hey, go to, he lives in Los Angeles. Hey, Ron, go to Alessandra Ambrosio's house when she takes the trash out, go get her trash. Or, if you get her to, her and Anja Noah to spit in a towel or on a swab or something, we get their DNA and we'll go test them. But it's like, I feel like with my mom, it's like anything short of that, and it's like, you're not gonna be able to prove it out. I'm sorry. It's like, well, what if and my whole point is, what if they are my kids? Like, just how do you feel all right with yourself that your response to me when in the least I believe these people have done this to me and that it's hurting me and it's wrong, and like that they're doing it specifically, this thing has been done in a way, the whole point of it is like, it's plausibly deniable and it's hard for me to prove, and it's really fucking wrong and hurts my emotional, mental, spiritual health in a really, in a strong way. It's like designed for that purpose, in order to cause me discomfort and pain and heartache and stuff. And I like just her response to it is like, I think it's sad for me because like I think it's true. I think these are my kids, and that some people have done some really fucked up stuff, and that the whole point is like, well, they don't have if they are able to convince Alessandra Ambrosio to do this stuff, then they just are going to control the kids. You know what I mean? Like they already have their mom's like tacit support and approval to do whatever the fuck they want to the kids, and they've probably been treating the kids terrible or like abusing them or something, and just to like hurt me, right? Does that make sense? Like the whole purpose of this is essentially to like rape me, to take control from me about my own reality. My kids should be under my charge until they're old enough to be under their own charge, right? But it's like, this is designed to hurt me and be very, like, something that is difficult to prove. Now, knowing that, just because I can't prove it doesn't mean it's not real. And, I can't say that I'm ever going to be able to prove it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's going to be something that I could ever prove. However, I do think the thing where I have made a point to, like, I've made this point. I think Alessandra Ambrosio is Jezebel, the character Jezebel from Revelation 2:20. Do I think her actual name is Jezebel? No, I think it's the type of a woman. They picked Jezebel from the Old Testament because it's a despicable woman who's done some super evil shit, and she's used as a type, you know what I mean? Like as a archetype of an evil woman, right? And who supported other deities, and there can be other things in the name, like Jezebel seems to be connected to the deity Bel or Baal, and that's even in the maybe Satan in the New Testament. But the idea is that there's a woman who's like some kind of false prophetess who's saying that you can do something, I think, to the church that you can't, and it's destructive to people. It's literally for a group of people called the Nicolaitans, whose name means victory over the people or destruction of the people. And it's connected with a similar idea of Balak and Balaam. Balaam, who was hired by Balak in the Old Testament to basically set a trap for the Israelites so that they sin in specific ways. And I think that was the idea that I've gotten at with Alessandra and Anja Ambrosio. It's that the idea is that she's trying to use her daughter, or more specifically my daughter, in a way that is like being used to fuck with my head sexually or something like that. Like it's set as a trap for me, and like in any instance, like whatever's going on, I'd like it to end, and I'd like some explanation from them, because there's enough, in my opinion, that I can. First of all, when she's asking for facts, it's like I lay out all this shit in hours and hours and hours, of like YouTube videos. If you actually listened to me for 5 minutes and actually went to the place that I was telling you where I lay this shit out, like I do on these videos, where not on the videos that I record on my phone, the ones that I record on my computer, right? Like if we go to my YouTube channel, right? There's a whole bunch of videos here, right? I try to lay out whatever I can in those videos, right? Because I do think that like it I can at least lay it out now, and maybe in the future somehow maybe something happens that proves me out. But even more so, my like proves my point in that I've recorded all this, and so I have my side of the story recorded, right? On the other hand, kind of my point with this has been like, I can't prove it out, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to. However, I think the idea within Revelation, which is the thing that I've been telling my mom, is that, hey, there's this thing in Revelation. The situation that I'm going through seems to be loosely defined in Revelation at the 7 churches of Asia, that there is some kind of evil thing that has happened to someone, and if that person can get through it, conquer, like overcome the situation, that person is in the position of spiritual authority in Christianity. That person is Jesus on the throne, or that person is on the throne with Jesus with the name Yahweh written on them, right? Meaning they have, just like in the Old Testament where it says the angel, where Yahweh says, listen to this angel, he has my name in him. My name is in him, right? Or on him. That's, I think, the idea of the 6th church, where it says, I'll make you into a pillar in the temple of my God, and write the name of my Father on you, and the name of the New Jerusalem, as well as my own new name, right? And my point with this is, okay, then you get to the 4th church. Like at the 4th church, there's a Jezebel character, some woman who's doing some evil, reprehensible stuff, right? And she and her children die, right? So that's my, I believe that if Alessandra and her children die, or Alessandra dies, I mean, I think it would have to match, like, I'm going to turn this around. I think it would have to match this portion, right? This is what I'm saying. This is the portion of the thing that I'm talking about, right? Where I think this is going on, and, I think Alessandra is representative of this character, or, this character is representative of Alessandra. If it could say the woman Alessandra, I think it would, right? Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to say there. That's why I think that, something's going on that's, meant to, hurt me, and this woman is being used to do that, or she's maybe in charge of the, and it's talking about, like I'm saying, the Nicolaitans. There's a group of people sacrificing, setting traps for people, right? So that's the idea that I'm getting at, is there's someone is setting traps for people in this section, right? And at the 3rd and 4th church, at the 4th, seemingly, these are they're 2 parts of the same coin almost. It's like, here's the trap is set, and here's who set it, right? And the one who set it is Jezebel, and the idea is she's claiming to be a prophetess, but she's luring the servants of God away to commit the adultery of eating food sacrificed to idols. I've already made points about this, to idols, right? I've already made points. It's not talking about eating food. Obviously, it talks about adultery, right? It's eating food in the Old Testament, especially like the Proverbs or Song of Psalms, is, like if you go into Proverbs and it says bread, stolen water tastes better, and bread eaten in secret is this, that, or the other. Those are euphemisms for, like, cheating. Like, it turns whoever on to, like, drink water, and, just moments prior in the Proverbs, it's comparing drinking from your own well as being, like, some form of lawful sexuality. Drinking from your own well, drink from the water of your own well, and from the wife of your youth, and, like, let hers be the breasts that ever enrapture you, and blah, 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 like that. That's in the Proverbs. Within the first 10 chapters. In the first 10 chapters, it's like a back and forth with wisdom or something. Actually, the first 9 chapters. and like it's wisdom explaining her, it's explaining what wisdom is. It's describing kind of what the point of the proverbs is, and then the latter chapters are literally just short proverbs that are like directed to the point or whatever. But the idea of like food and water being associated, like eating and drinking being associated with sexuality, that they're sexual euphemisms, that's what I'm talking about with this Jezebel character. And I think that's what this is about. And if I can't prove this out, which I can't, but if this situation that I'm going through is this situation right here, right, is that there's a trap that has been set for me, and I'm the guy with the white stone that has received the white stone, and then after I take some time, because it says keep working for me until the end, I don't think it's an immediate process. I think it's something that takes a while. Like you have to be patient, and you have to go through something for a long period of time. Then it says, I will give the authority over the pagans, which I myself have been given by my father, to rule them with an iron scepter and shatter them like earthenware, and I'll give him the morning star. And remember that all the things that you get in this, like these are like prizes. So at the first church you get a prize, the second church you get a prize. At the sixth church you have to have the second church prize, like where it says, let nobody take your prize from you, and it very specifically is talking about the prize from up here where it says this is the crown of life for your prize, and it's hold on to it. Down here to hold on to, let nobody take your prize from you, that's your prize, right? And so you're getting gifts in succession, and the final gift is that whoever has gone through this, I will allow to share my. First of all, it talks about sharing the meal. If one of you hears me, look, I'm standing at the door knocking. If one of you hears me calling and opens the door, I will come in to share his meal side by side with him. Those who prove victorious, I will allow to share my throne, just as I was victorious myself and took my place with my Father on his throne. If anyone has ears to hear, let him listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. And like my point with this is like, okay, I can't prove out that Anja Ambrosio has wronged me like this. That Alessandra and or her sister has wronged me like this. Aline Ambrosio, and that, Noah, Anja, and Dylan and Liam are my children. I cannot prove that, and I'm not going to be able to unless they visit me, or I'm able to DNA test them, or someone else gets their DNA and tests them against my DNA, or puts it into the Ancestry.com database, because I'm on Ancestry.com, and so it would immediately say that I would have children, and that my parents, it would say that they have grandchildren if the hypothetically at some point Noah and Anja take Ancestry.com DNA tests to figure out their background, right? It would show like me as their father. That's my suggestion. And if it didn't, then I guess, and you could independently verify that it really did check their DNA against my DNA. Okay. Like that whatever DNA was uploaded to theirs was accurate for them. Okay. Then I'm not their biological father. I would even suggest that still doesn't mean, it doesn't say that, it says that they're Jezebel's kids and that Jezebel and her children, die. But like, it doesn't say that they're your kids. I think the suggestion, actually is that having gone through this and looking at it and it seemingly being an accurate representation of what's gone on or going on with me, it's that they might be my biological children. I didn't consent to them being born. As much as I do want to like love them and have a connection with them and stuff, they were not bred for that reason based on what I can see. They were bred in order to be difficult, stressful, emotionally, mentally. They were bred so that people could abuse them, so that they could use that abuse to tear me down. They were bred, or like I was bred, and like they were created through that like unconsenting, where I didn't consent to them breeding me. Like they were bred to be a difficult, heavy thing for me to lift, for me to carry, They were bred to be a burden to me. And even if I wanted them, if I was the most loving and whatever, which I've tried to be like open and like, hey, come here, and like I'm trying to be fun and stuff. I do not think they care. I don't think they have my interests at heart. I think they're meant to be a poison to hurt me. I think they are like there's like some kind of stalk. They maybe resent me. First of all, I don't know how they wouldn't resent their mom if she like raped me to breed them. You know what I mean? Like if they had to create some kind of bullshit scenario around me. Like I want them to be, I want to be their dad, but like I don't think it's possible because of how they're acting towards me. And I don't think it's wise for me to invest any emotion in them, invest any, like, I can love them in the sense of, like, hey, I think you're my kids and, like, I want to love my kids. But I don't think you're, like, I think you're biologically my children, but I think you're your mom's kids and that she is terrible to me and that the whole purpose of your existence from her side of things was to be terrible with me, to me with you, was to be terrible to me. Alessandra meant to be terrible to me by having these kids and by creating these situations where that make me feel out of control, like where I don't have control over my own wife and children or the mother of my children and children, which I wouldn't have like gotten myself into that situation. You know what I mean? Like I've avoided having kids as much as I can for a reason. I didn't do a good job of it, obviously, but like there's a reason I didn't have kids. It's not that I didn't want kids. You know what I mean? And so the fact that they exist, I mean, like I look at them and like, here's one of the things. I look at them and I'm like, I think these are my kids. You know what I mean? Like I think these are my kids in the sense of like I think I'm their biological father. They remind me of myself. They even have some of my goofy quirks. You know what I mean? And like as much as I want to love them though and be like I still even if it's Jezebel and her children, to the degree that like I don't hate people. I hate that people have done this to me or are doing this to me, that people are seemingly treating me in a really fucked up and evil way. I hate it. I if I could stop it instantly I would, I think, I mean, what do I know? If Yahweh is allowing it, there's a reason, but you know what I mean? Like if I could stop it, if I had my way, I would currently. But I think the idea is Yahweh's like, if you go through this, I'll stop it eventually. And when I stop it, you'll never have to go through it again. And I'll make up infinitely. I'll make it up to you. And like you will be provided for and taken care of forever along with your family. And like for having to go through this, it'll be like Job, whereas Job got double. Like I think I'll get double. Even if what I was getting before was gonna be infinity, like some people did this because I was already gonna be this person on the throne and they didn't like it, I would get, and so I was already gonna get infinity. I think I will get double infinity for this. And while it seems like, well, maybe that's hard to do, it's like, well, I mean, I think I get like Jesus has 144,000 virgins on Mount Zion. I think they're in the least to be shared. That's what he's talking about. I'll grant you to share my meal with me. And I think that's Jesus's meal. And so I 100% like, I'm going to get through this, but a lot of this that I really want to like kind of just make it obvious is like, this is fucking difficult. It's incredibly fucking difficult because of anybody who should be supporting me. It should be the woman that you were hearing at the beginning, Cheryl, my mom. She should be on my side more than anybody. You know what I mean? Like, this is a stressful, difficult, terrible situation of a thing that's happening to me. And, like, she more than anybody should be my support system. But she wants to pretend like she's Miss Lawyer and she can't, that I have to provide the whole case. Like, I literally have to prove out my case to the degree that in a court of law, that a judge would say, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, I have to prove that that this is the case. And like, I just can't do that right now. And like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to, but I think it's a shame. I think it's wrong that that's her way of looking at it. That she can't. And I know that she understands what a hypothetical is, like a hypothetical scenario. I know that she can put herself in a headspace where she looks at it and like in her head is like, well, I know he can't prove it out, but let me just put myself in this headspace, in the headspace that he's in. What if they're his children and I do have grandchildren? The fact that she can't even just put herself in that headspace just to like see maybe what I'm talking about is frustrating, and it's hurtful, and I really think she's going to regret forever that this was how she responded to me. And it's not that I want my mom to like have something to regret forever, but like, she's just not responding to this well. And like, she's not even responding to this like it's not just well, it's that she's not even responding to it like empathetically. Like, she's trying to respond to it in a way where she's like, well, I'm lawyer lady and I know the law, and like, this is what you would have to prove to a judge to make, them believe. And it's like, I'm not trying to prove to a judge that these are my kids. I don't have the evidence. I've already illustrated how I think you would get that evidence, but I can't do it legally that I know of. Like, I mean, I guess I could, again, I don't have the money or resources to go and like try to DNA test Anja and Noah Ambrosio, or just Anja and Noah Ambrosio. And I don't even think like, even if part of my point is like, well, if I got the DNA and I like was able to send it in, the fact that there's something around me that seems to be able to manipulate situations, it would already mean that like I couldn't trust that, even if it said, like, I would have to know for a fact that the DNA that is tested that I get from them, and then that my DNA is accurately portrayed, and that it's two accurate representations of my DNA and their DNA being tested against each other. And like, I can't even trust that would happen. Like, someone in the lab would fuck with you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not. I would still rather like there be an attempt to do it. You know what I mean? It would just have to be like some kind of independent third party. And one of my things that I've been saying is like, I do think that this is causing disaster, and like it's causing it's costing lots of money, because Yahweh seems to be pretty angry at it, and he's making a point that it's wrong, and that it's like that he's gonna cause some problems because of that. And like, it is within someone's interest to figure out whether this is the case or not. And it would absolutely make sense of what I'm saying if they in fact were my kids, and like, I'm literally being defended by Yahweh. Like, he has taken actions that, like, the catastrophic things, when I say, like, when I am talking about these and do say like, hey, if this is going on, I manifest a bunch of tornadoes, like a tornado outbreak, severe tornado outbreak, and then there's a severe tornado outbreak, or an EF5 tornado outbreak, and there's like tornadoes that are EF5 level that get EF4 ratings or whatever. In any instance, like, because that happened earlier this year in April. So in any instance, I just if like some private investigator could go do that, that'd be great. If some intelligence service could prove this out, that would be great. If some, you know what I mean? If something, all I can do currently is like hope that Yahweh gives me a resolution on this that's favorable to me, and keep praying that that's the case. That's like legitimately it. And I do think that this is what the fourth church from Revelation at the seven churches of Asia is talking about. And that I do think either Alessandra is the Jezebel character, or like, Lucilda Ambrosio, Aline Ambrosio, Anja Ambrosio, like one of the Ambrosio women is the Jezebel character, else are being used in that capacity, like they're the things sacrificed to idols. Else, they've been used in that capacity, but it's someone else of the women that I've made a point about, and there's not that many that I've listed that I think are part of that thing, where I feel like these women are adversarial to me. And then, else, maybe, like the best case scenario for me, I guess, is like, no, it was something designed for, they are my kids, it was designed for me, nothing's happened to them. Alessandra's taken really good care of them. Aline's taken really good care of those kids. They specifically have kept them from being abused by anybody. They have made every effort to be good to the kids, to be good mothers, to have the kids, let the kids be free. The kids know who I am. They love me. They understand that this situation is absurdly fucking difficult for me, but that I would, do love them and want them to be, if they're my kids, I'm super happy about it. That they're my kids, and that I have kids that I love, because like I want, I don't want them to feel bad. But being that, it seems like they were created to make me feel bad. I'm trying not to let them make me feel bad, but the situation does exist, right? And like I want a good resolution to it, but I'm more than willing at this point for the resolution to be Alessandra's Jezebel. Noah and Anja are the children of Jezebel. Else, Lucilda's Jezebel, and Alessandra and Aline are the children of Jezebel, I guess, or Jezebel and her kids, or whatever. But I do want like a resolution to this, and like, reasonably the best case would be that, okay, my kids are my kids and they've been protected, and Alessandra's a good wife actually, and they've just been like fucking with me. That could be it too. I'm not completely, like, I don't completely believe that's impossible. I just think it's less probable than people doing evil to me. Like that, it seems more likely than anything people have done evil to me. Not just them, but like they're maybe the most extreme example. Else, people have done evil to me, and they're the thing that like Yahweh's made up for it by, I'm being equipped with a hot wife or two hot wives that are sisters, and my children, and that my children aren't, pieces of garbage that are treating me like garbage. You know what I mean? Like, or I don't want to say piece of garbage, but that like from a young age have been taught to treat me wrong or something. Like I kind of don't understand how, if Anja knows who I am, where it seems like she knows who I am, and Noah, and they, are communicating towards me, where Anja seems very clearly to be, that that I would want them to be like good kids. I would want them to be friendly to me. I want to be friendly with them, but like the vibe that I get from the situation is, if they were going to, they just already would. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be waiting for them to treat me like dad. They would just, I'm dad. You know what I mean? Like, I even think that's what the whole daddy's home thing is about. And the idea is like, that was just meant to, it's like things like that are meant to get my hopes up. Because if I'm dad, why are you guys not here? Like, why am I having to go through this where it's like, I'm dealing with like the stress even of this, but then like I can't even get my mom to, like, my mom's like, you literally need to give me evidence that would convince a judge. And it's like, why would I even be talking to you if I could convince a judge of this? Like, I would just do it and then prove they're my kids, and then I would, beat you over the head with the fact that you like literally were trying to give me, like when I'm like, can you even put your head hypothetically in that headspace, and you're like looking at me like, I don't even know what you're fucking talking about. No, I can't do that. I need evidence. And it's like, I would beat you over the head with the fact that that was your response to the fact that I'm telling you, hey, you have grandchildren. Essentially, like I was raped and you have grandchildren, and like your response is like, your response is worse to me than like the actual situation itself. Like your response, like what the strain and the hurt that comes from like you're the person that's supposed to be taking care of me the most. You should like reasonably, if you were like, you should have known to tell me like, hey, people do evil shit like that. Don't let yourself get caught in that situation. But like you can see with her, she's kind of naive to the world, even though she's a lawyer and wants to think that she's like a snake killer and stuff. It's like, I love you, and I wish that was the case, and I wish that people hadn't done this. I wish that people weren't doing something to me. I can't prove that people have done this, but it looks pretty damn telling to me that someone has done something, and that they're trying to, in the least, that they're trying to make it seem like they've done this, and that you can't even put you're like, give me proof, not like, okay, well, I mean, I don't believe you, but like I can see you believe it to some degree, and I can tell it's stressful for you, and I want you to be in a good headspace again. And you're my son. I really care about you, and like I'm not gonna not take this seriously, or I'm not gonna like just write it off. Like I'm willing to put my head in order for you to feel better. I'm willing to try to understand what you're going through, put myself in that headspace, to just see where you might be, and maybe even to see like, can I see that, even if you can't prove it, if I'm looking at these kids, do these kids look like you? Well, okay, here's these features which match Matt. They don't seem to match Jamie Mazur, the guy who's like Alessandra's former fiance, who like that is purported to be their father. Like that they have his last name and not my last name. But I don't know. Part of my point here is like, actually, it seems like my whole Instagram's fucked with. It seems like I'm not seeing a real version of the internet or reality. It seems like my YouTube's tampered with. It seems like my whole digital everything's tampered with. So it could very well be that in actuality, when anybody else goes to Andra's thing, it says Anja Wilkins. Anja Ambrosio Wilkins, or it could be Noah Ambrosio Wilkins, or it could be, Alessandra Wilkins or Alessandra Ambrosio Wilkins. I mean, I wouldn't force her to change her name. I actually really like the name Ambrosio. It's very pretty to me, so I think it's a beautiful name. So, and again, this is why they would be an effective tool against me. I'm not unaware of that. That's been my point. It's like I try to keep myself in a headspace to understand why the thing would be happening to me, and like what's happening, why it's happening. If something unbelievable is happening, I can't take it all for like it's happening for sure, but I can try to like put myself in a headspace to understand it and try to break down and see what's going on. I can at least do the thing that I'm trying to get from her, where it's like, can you at least maybe pretend? That's what I'm asking for, is can you pretend that they're, you know what I mean? To just understand. And when she's like, no, I need evidence, it's like, no, you don't need evidence to pretend. That's the whole point, is it's pretending. It's like, can you put yourself in that headspace? No, you can't do that? Then I think you're just lying, because you can. And it's not hard at all. And the fact that you're saying you don't understand this makes me even less, like, I'm like, I don't believe you. I think you participated. If you really can't to that degree, like say like, well, maybe let me try to put myself in that headspace. Yeah, I think you're probably just lying. But I don't know. I can't prove that either. I can just say that that's what I think. But I can also understand, like, she doesn't even want to consider it, because it would mean the thing that I said earlier is pretty correct. Like, hey, some people raped me, and like bred me without my permission, and they did it to disempower me and to make me feel bad. I think Yahweh has empowered me, like re-empowered me, but I can't. What has happened, and like I do think it's going to end. Like it makes sense of the seven churches of Asia situation in Revelation, and yeah. So at this point, I'm just repeating myself, so I'm going to end this here. I think I still got, yeah, the camera's still on. It's an hour long. You know, I'm going to put it on my, I'm going to put it on my, am I going to put this on my YouTube? I don't know, man. I just like, I do think it's good to have this recording, because I do think at some point something's going to be proved out. It's going to be proved out they're my kids. It's going to be proved out like maybe they're not my kids, but they were used in this capacity, or they are my biological children. They don't consider themselves my kids, or whatever the fuck, you know, something. And like, there's going to be some resolution to this, and I think having this, like, this is what was going on. Like, this is the reality. Like, I would even suggest, hey, the reality of why this is so difficult and taking, you know, and like I can't get any movement on this is like, in a situation where, you know, in the past I was like explaining, like, I think like with the Stephanie Justin thing, right? Like, I'm gonna draw a parallel here. When I started this playlist here, this one, the Versus My Mental Health playlist, and like started kind of posting these videos which were more about like, hey, I feel like I'm going through a struggle where some people, like almost like a siege engine of people has like built up something to like attack my mental health, and like they've gone overboard and done some really fucked up stuff. And you know, like one of my examples about things are like you got the whole like where I'm asking, are Alessandra and Anja Ambrosio, are they a trap or my dogs? And like then when I'm saying like the communication's plausibly deniable, the type of communication that I'm talking about that's like a response is like not that she directly responds to my video, or here, are they a trap or my dogs, right? From April 7th, right? It's not that. It's that she then takes a series of selfies on her Instagram where she has a dog face filter, right? And this video is Anja Ambrosio Wilkins, a dog. Very clearly. And like, you know, then post it with the dog emoji, and like I think the idea is that she's saying she's a dog. You know what I mean? Are they a trap or is she my dog? And then she's saying she's my dog. Well, I mean, without any kind of actual response, it just seems like more of a trap, and this is her making light of it or making a joke out of it. But like, you know, that, like, my suggestion is that a response to my question? I believe it is. I can't prove to a judge that that's a response to my question. You know what I mean? But like, you would have to be a fucking idiot to believe that that's not a response to my video. Is she my dog? Or you know what I mean? Like, are they a dog? Are they a trap or my dogs? And then all of a sudden she posts pictures with a dog filter on where it looks like she's suggesting that she's my dog or that she's a dog. Like, I can't prove that she's posted this in response to my previous picture, right? I can't prove that, but damn, you'd have to be stupid to not believe. You'd have to be extremely gullible and naive to not believe that it's not some form of communication back towards me or a response to my question, right? So that's what I'm getting at, right? And so I do have this whole thing so that when I'm explaining to my mom, like on this video, like, hey, like very clearly the Stephanie Houston is Matt thing, like, I tweeted at her a bajillion times from my Twitter, yo Matt ya, and my, like at this point, she has to know who I am. The fact that she's posted like Matt with two A's, you know what I mean? Like that's the art project she decided to be a part of. You'd have to be naive or gullible or stupid or all of the above or something to not think that there is some kind of connection. So when all these people are trying to pretend to me, like, what do you mean, Matt? What do you mean, how is this connected? Like, even Josh at this point is like, I mean, I think she's probably trying to message at you, but what can I do? And so, like, my response to, like, my mom, or, like, like when she's like, well, what can I do? Like, hypothetically, that's their response. Like, well, what can I do? It's like, okay, if enough people go to the news and then at the same time I'm documenting that we're going to the news, if they don't cover it, it starts to be a problem for the news, right? Because then they got to realize, people are starting to realize that they're a front for something if they aren't covering this situation. That, these are just people being paid off to not actually share the news. Does that make sense? Because this is bigger news than any fucking thing that is going on here in Houston. This is like some of the biggest, that a bunch of celebrities are doing some shit way beyond what P. Diddy's doing, to the point where it's in the end of the Bible. I mean, like, that's some fucking news. Like that this is what the seven churches of Asia and every Bible is about, right? Because what is that situation? What is the seven churches thing? There's some group of people called the Nicolaitans that are going around doing some evil shit to people who believe in Jesus and Yahweh. That's what it seems like. That they're willing to, like, do some super evil. A group of people, Nicolaitans. When you pull up the thing, it's the destruction of the people or victory over the people or something like that. It sounds like exactly like what you hear P. Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein doing to fucking people. It's like they're trying to get diplomats and celebrities and wealthy people and compromise them so that they can then use those people to force an agenda on the people, that would whatever. And when someone in the people like myself would stand up against it, that they would, like, do some rapey shit, like breed me without my permission and then abuse my kids. And then make it like, they bred me without my permission. I can't prove that they're my kids. So even if they are, like, abusing them, like, I can't, like, I can only say that I think it's happening and whatever. I don't have the ability to, like, take custody of them, which I would like to if they're my kids, yeah. Doesn't look like Alessandra really enjoys spending time with them. She's all everywhere fucking else other than with the kids. I mean, is that actually true? I mean, I think that, she's actually had plenty of time with them, so she's fine with being elsewhere. Whereas, like, if they're my kids, I haven't spent a moment of their reality. Never have they even met me, and I'm their dad, or I'm their father, biological father. And, like, even if I want to be, like, dad and their dad, it's like something's preventing me from being that. So, yeah, it sucks. And, like, it's a difficult reality to like, what am I trying to say? To take in, to believe, to be a part of, to, like, it's difficult that it seems to be that it is my reality. So, and I just want to get it over. Like, I want some kind of resolution or conclusion to this. Like, I'm fucking tired of it, honestly. This has been going on since, like, obviously, if Anja's 16, it's been going on since at least she was born, like 9 months before she was born, at least, right? But, you can go to my, like, YoTV, right? And then, like, you go all the way back in my, like, with the things where I've asked, like, literally the whole purpose of starting this YoTV channel was to, like, have some kind of platform where I could talk about whatever was going on with Stephanie Houston. And, like, she just seemed to be some extension of what's going on with Anja Ambrosio, or what's going on with, fucking, at this point, like, with, some celebrities, like, there's Hailey Bieber and there's Bella Hadid, that are just, like, acting like terrible people, while, like, they've done something to me, and, like, the mental distress that's put me under, I was literally going through it, and they're like, people are lying, like the whole, like certain women like Brittany D'Arbagoso and Brittany Orlando and whatever this, uh, same person, Brittany Orlando, Claire Paget, and Nicole Fritchie or Aguilar or whatever, that these people like they lie, that people around me know that there's a situation going on, and what they describe to the police is not reality, and maybe even the police knew that it wasn't the full story and that it wasn't the full reality, and that these people are and have been actively participating in whatever this bullshit is. And like, yes, it involves celebrities. Like, it would mean I'm a very high value person, even if I don't care or want it to be or whatever. It would mean that like something is going on around me where I have power and authority, and people don't like it, so they're trying everything they can to shut me up or to take that power and authority away from me, and or hurt me or whatever. And like, it's been going on for a while now. And like, again, the police did not respond correctly the previous time. And I think they knowingly didn't respond correctly. And that's one of the reasons why I can't get traction on this now, is like, it would mean that they were part of the thing from Revelation where it says someone's going to slander you. That's the second church in this, seven churches of Asia thing, where it very clearly is saying, like, to whoever, you gotta realize this is the person that's going to be on the throne of Yahweh, right? So the fact that it says very clearly, like, here's the message, this is the second church, here's the message of the angel of the church of Smyrna, in Smyrna say, here's the message of the first and the last, who was dead and has come to life again. I know the trials you have had, how poor you are, though you are rich, and the slanderous accusations that have been made by the people who profess to be Jews, but are really members of a synagogue of Satan. Do not be afraid of the sufferings that are coming to you. I tell you, the devil is going to send some of you to prison to test you, and you must face an ordeal for 10 days or a short period of time. Even if you have to die, keep faithful, and I will give you the crown of life for your prize. If anyone has ears to hear, let him listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. For those who are victorious, there's nothing to be afraid of in the second death. So the idea of like, hey, the person who's going to be on the throne of Yahweh here, again, since you know that the person, whoever gets the crown, like it literally says, I'll give you the crown of life for your prize, right? And then down here it talks about let nobody take your prize from you, and hold firmly to what you already have. Let no one take your prize from you. And it actually, I think it actually in the Greek says, let no one take your crown from you. Speaking of this crown that you get for being the victor in something, that, very clearly it seems to be suggesting that whoever is going to be on the throne of Jesus with Jesus is someone who's been sent to jail over slander and lies by, this says the members of a synagogue of Satan. It could be, there's a number of things that this could be, but, maybe just take it on face value. I can say this, that people did slander me and I went to jail over it. Like, if they knew that the situation was going on around me, which is going on around me and appears to have been going on around me at least since I was in high school, since Anja is 16 now, which would mean that she would have been conceived. This is why when I'm telling my mom about Nikki Dunn, and all of a sudden, by the way, it was only like the day that I brought up, this is how I think this would have happened. Like, this is, if Anja was conceived and using semen, whatever, my semen, she would have had to have been, if I'm her father, I think the only, the first opportunity and the only opportunity that I can think of that would have fit in the timeline was with Nikki Dunn. And all of a sudden, Anja Ambrosio is going to the Dunn School. It's spelled the exact same way, Dunn. And now all of a sudden, I actually got a text today with someone named Dunn in it. But anyway, that's off topic. All I'm going to say is that, it was, until I brought it up, it was like, it seemed like she was going to a completely different school. And all of a sudden, when I bring it up, she's now at some boarding school or something, I don't know, where it's the name of the person that I've suggested is the one who seemed to have taken my semen. So, again, the idea that this would have happened while I was a 16-year-old at Lutheran High North, and that some of the people that I went to North have lied to the degree that I was in jail, right? I went to, it says prison here, but the idea is
in Greek, it's a word that means a guarding, some form of jail or prison. And for 10 days, for some trial period, for some period of time. But yeah, hello. I mean, what do you think this is? My whole point is, it seems like most people I try to explain this to, it's like, it's not hard. It's a series of if-then conditional statements. If you do this, then you get this, right? If you do this thing, then you get these gifts. And if you do this thing, then you get these gifts for all 7 of the churches. In succession, you get the prizes. To eat from the tree of life, that's immortality. You don't die the first death. So, eat from the tree of life set in God's paradise. Well, that's immortality from the earlier part of the Bible. You don't die the first death. This one seems to be, if you go and you keep faithful, I'll give you the crown of life for your prize, and then you're not hurt by the second death. So the first one is you don't get hurt by the first death. Second one is you don't get hurt by the second death. The third one is you get a hidden manna and a white stone with a new name written on it, known only the man who receives it. As I showed previously, I think when you get to, the idea is the person who's giving the, if-then conditional statements is also the person here. And the person giving the if-then conditional statements is the person here. And if you're the one victorious and conquering at the 7 churches, then you're also the person here. Because, when it says the name written on him was known only to himself, right? Well, that sounds exactly like the stone. And since this character is the white stone that the builders refused, I think that's what it's talking about. And so you get to be that character, right? Does that make sense? And then here it talks about, you deal with this trap that Jezebel has set. She's gonna, I'm consigning Jezebel to bed, or I'm casting her onto a couch, which makes sense under the concept of Alessander making some kind of point about a casting couch. But I'm consigning her to bed. It actually says I'm casting her onto a couch in order, a bed of sickness, and all her partners in adultery to troubles that will test them severely. In other words, I will afflict them up to the point of death unless they repent of their practices. And I will see that her children die, so that all the churches realize that it is I who search heart and loins and give each one of you what your behavior deserves. Right? And if you go through this and you hold firmly to what you already have, you go through this and you don't give up, and I guess you do the thing that I'm doing where you try to unpack it and make sense of it. It doesn't say to those who are victorious. It says to you who is victorious, or to the one who is victorious. Keep working until the end. And I mean in the Greek, because this is just a translation. But to the one who's victorious, keep working for me until the end. I will give the authority over the pagans, which I myself have been given my Father, to rule them with an iron scepter and shatter them like earthenware. That's Psalm 2. And I will give him the morning star. It's Psalm 2, but it's also just hey, that thing that I was talking about where I think you get to be this person. Hey, guess what this person has? This person has a sword out of his mouth to strike the pagans with, as well as he is the one who will rule them with an iron scepter, right? And then tread out the wine of Almighty God's fierce anger. It could be something to do with blood and virginity, and that's the treading the grapes could be something that has to do with blood and juice. And anyway, all right, you get here, and it's you get the white robes, right? If you stay awake, you'll be dressed in the white robes. I won't blot your name out of the book of life, but I'll acknowledge your name in the presence of my Father and his angels. And at this one, because you have, here is the holy and faithful one who has the key of David, so that when he opens, nobody can close, and when he closes, nobody can open. I know all about you, and I have opened in front of you a door that nobody will be able to close. And I know that though you are not very strong, you have kept my commandments and not disowned my name, being that I'm someone who explicitly says the name Yahweh and tries to illustrate how important it is, as opposed to any other deity, because you can say like, oh, God says this or God says that, but then it's like, well, which God? Muslims have all sorts of claims about God, but Yahweh, you can find all the claims specifically about Yahweh in the Bible, and you can be very certain that Jesus was claiming that he was Yahweh, not some other deity. And like, it's important for a number of reasons, but I can't illustrate every reason that his name is important, but just very obviously, I have a name. If you want to refer to me, you don't just say like some descriptor around what I do. You just say Matt Wilkins, and you know who you're talking about. I mean, maybe there's other Matt Wilkinses. Then you can start adding descriptors. With Yahweh, you don't really need to add any other descriptors. It's not like you run into a bunch of people named Yahweh. So, in any instance, surprisingly, you do run into quite a few people named Jesus or Jesus, but, rarely Yahweh, right? Okay. Now I'm going to make the synagogue of Satan those who profess to be Jews but are liars, because they are no such thing. I will make them come fall at your feet and admit that you are the people that I love. Because you have kept my commandments to endure trials, I will keep you safe in the time of trial, which is soon going to come for the whole world, to test the people of the world. Soon I shall be with you. Hold firmly to what you already have, the thing that you get at the second church, and the other churches, but this one, it specifically says, let nobody take your crown from you, and the word is Stephanos. And then those who are victorious, I will make into pillars in the sanctuary of my God, and they will stay there forever. I will inscribe on them the name of my God, right? That's Yahweh. And the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down from my God in heaven. If you look here, it even says Ezekiel 48:35, but you can also go to like Jeremiah 33:5 and 6, and it seems to be Yahweh in an adjective. It's the idea that, first of all, Ezekiel 48, Yahweh Shema, Yahweh is there, so it's the idea, I think Yahweh is present in the person, but also and in the New Jerusalem, which that is true, but also just the idea it's Yahweh. And then my own new name as well, which I believe is also Yahweh. So Yahweh, Yahweh, and Yahweh, it's probably Yahweh that gets written on this person. And then it's much like, again, like I said, the angel in like Exodus or in Joshua or whatever that has, and Yahweh's like, listen to this angel, for he has my name in him or on him. And I think that's the idea. Is like with this, it's like, oh, I'll have the name on me, and so the authority will be on me, and I'll be on, if I, do all that, plus the seventh church is, here's the message of the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the ultimate source of God's creation. I know all about you, how you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were one or the other, but since you are neither, but only lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. You say to yourself, I am rich, I have made a fortune, and I have everything that I want, never realizing you are wretchedly and pitiably poor, and blind and naked too. I warn from you, buy from me the gold that has been tested in the fire to make you really rich, and white robes to clothe you and cover your shameful nakedness, and eye ointment to put on your eyes so that you are able to see. I am the one who reproves and disciplines all those he loves. So repent in real earnest. Look, I'm standing at the door, knocking. If one of you hears me calling and opens the door, I will come in to share his meal with him, side by side with him. Those who prove victorious, I will allow to share my throne, just as I was victorious myself and took my place with my Father on his throne. Anyone that has ears to ears, let him listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. And I think then if you do this, right, the next thing you see is the door in heaven opening. So it's like the person knocking, if you're the one that opens the door, and you've gone through the 7 churches of Asia, and you've conquered at the 7 churches of Asia, then the door opens. And I think the idea is like, hey, there's a scroll only openable by the Lamb, right? And then, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, right? The Lamb that was sacrificed is worthy to be given power, riches, wisdom, strength, honor, and glory and blessing. And maybe it's even something that had to go through something similarly like sacrificial, but not exactly the same. and like, be the person from Isaiah 53, else the person from Psalm 22, because somehow in both of those instances, this person, it was like, looks like they're at death's door, or they in fact do die, are then back and like spreading the name of Yahweh amongst the people, or their offspring will see, their heirs will see long life, or whatever it says. And so I think the idea is that Jesus lived out the one where you actually have to die. And for me, I think the situation that I have to go through is just like really fucked up. Like, the situation that I've just outlined here, where it seems like my kids have been, I've been bred without my permission, and my kids are like, I live in some kind of lab, and they're using my kids to abuse me, and they've abused my kids, or whatever, whatever the evil thing is that I've described. And then it makes sense of why that's when the seals open up, you have all these people like, then all the earthly rulers, governors, commanders, rich people, men of influence, the whole population. I would suggest these people seem to be the most, like they're preventing what I'm saying from taking this group of people, the earthly rulers, governors, and the commanders or generals and rich people and men of influence. Those seem to be the people most at fault for what's going on. And they then run to the mountains and rocks and say, fall on us and hide us from the one who sits on the throne, and the anger of the Lamb, and for the great day of his anger is coming. Who can survive it? And there we go. You're then at, the events of Revelation. Like, you are actively, once the seals start breaking, you're actively at the events of Revelation. So, I think that's what it is. I'm not even I'm pretty positive that's what it is, actually. And so, I'm going to continue, like, I'm dealing with this, right? But like, I can't let it completely dominate my reality. Like, you can see my point with my mom is, I'm not trying to let it be something that's wedging something between my mom and I. If I'm having issues with my own children or whatever, the last thing that I want to do, or, where I'm being wronged or something, is like alienate this person who is, which I think that's actually been part of the whole point of this strike, as I go over, by the way, in this video that I just released today. So actually, if you wanted to watch this one, the Stop Harming Israel one, you could see the, that's the YouTube address if you pause it and you wanted to go actually watch this video. And, where I'm talking about it being some kind of strike on the thigh, like Genesis 32, that is like some form of execution that has to do with rotting, but that the word seems to do with rotting, execution, alienation, and rotting. And that, I think the rotting part is that it feels like something inside me is being, that I've been struck internally and it's rotting me from the inside, or giving me cancer in my being, and like I'm having to undo this process. And anyway, the last thing I'm trying to do on top of that alienation is alienate my mom to the degree where there's like a fight between us. Like, I don't want to be on bad terms with my mom. I love her, and like, I wish that she could, despite like whatever is going on, that she could put her head in my same headspace and be like, if it's hurting Matt this much, or if it's bothering him this much, I should at least like try to see where he's coming from and to see what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like, hear him out without demanding that he present his case as if I'm some kind of judge in a court and I'm going to be the one arbitrating it. You know what I mean? Like, I do think something, actually, I really do think some kind of court somewhere, from these videos that I'm making, from all the content that I'm putting out, like something is watching my situation. And I do think to some degree, I'm giving my side of the story to whatever the fuck is watching. And I think based on what the Bible is saying, that it will ultimately rule in my favor. But because I'm innocent, like I didn't do this to myself. Like, the fuck? Like, I really did not do this to myself and wouldn't want I don't know. I'm not trying to hurt people, and I don't want to be hurt by it. And I don't want it to hurt my family, and it's like it's already hard enough. So I'm not trying to cause more stress between my mom and I. But it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult to go through. It's difficult to deal with. It's emotionally, spiritually, mentally draining, difficult. I literally think it's physically hurting me. I think that's the idea of it being a strike on the thigh, like where it says, like Jacob or Israel is crippled. Like I think that it has crippled me to some degree, and that I could be, in the least, much stronger and more athletic and capable. At most, I mean, I think it's literally preventing. Seemingly, the lightning stuff seems to be associated directly with my right side. Enough with the, when I'm doing these videos, like right where, when I go to here, hold on, it's like this is my video. I have lightning powers. Hold on, and right, hold on. I'm gonna have to back it up a bit, but right where that kind of response seems to be associated with my right side and exerting through my right side. And so whatever this situation is, that, hey, look, Kim Castro is here, and my Lightning Lab 15 video, it's like I think people are getting hurt because I think she knows. I think the people at Channel 11 and the news people know what's going on, and they aren't saying anything because, it's the situation from Thessalonians where there's a bunch of people rebelling in secret, and by the time it gets brought out into the open, I think the idea is that's when people are taking the mark of the beast. So, it is what it is. I can't, force people to be good human beings. I think Kim Castro's, I don't think you're a good person. That, this has happened in my reality, right? And then that I know that people in the news, some people do have awareness of it. And when I'm telling my mom and stuff, or whatever, hey, you could go to the news. We could go to the news. Some of it is that you have to have a massing of people that in order to convince Channel 13 or 11 or something, hey, this is going on. You have to cover it, because if you don't, you're going to be kind of the idea is what's going on here. I'm calling them out. I know Kim Castro knows. I know that a few people internally at these news places know. When I say they know, it's they can't. I believe by my standard they know, and I think they've suggested subtly enough to me that they know that something is going on, and that they're aware of some situation around it, and that they're actively choosing to stay silent because, insert reason. And money, I don't know, I'm guessing money. But whatever it is, it's it's really fucked up. And what you risk is the thing that I've talked about, where it's almost like smoking cigarettes. I don't think Yahweh takes it lightly, and I think these people are abusing my reality away from me, and you're staying silent on it. You're tacitly supporting their abusive, evil behavior, where I've been bred without my permission. I think it's a form of rape, to women. It's you want people to speak up for you. Why can't, I'm screaming for people to speak up who I believe do know what's happening, and I can't get them. And it's I've never, my whole point with rape is you should speak on it. If you've been raped, you should speak on it. Otherwise, you're empowering rapists by not speaking on it, because the people who've raped you are likely to go and do it again. So, in any instance, I don't like that this has happened to me. I want people to speak about it, and it does seem it just the whole point of that was even something's attacked me that's hurting me physically, and you can see when I'm exerting through that side of my body, that the side that seemingly has been crippled or attacked, that there seems to be supernatural results. So I would suggest that that's the ultimate reasoning behind having done it, is because that I could probably do that stuff, and so it needed to strike me in some kind of way to undo my ability to do that stuff. But if I can catch it, I can do that stuff forever, and I am the guy on the throne of Yahweh, and everybody who's participated is fucked, and like, they spent however many years of wasted effort instead of going to the place of infinite goodness and paradise, the kingdom of heaven. They actively chose to try to prevent the kingdom of heaven in order to exist in a place where they're going to die anyway, but like now they're going to die into infinite burning torture in the second death. So, I can't force people to make good decisions for themselves, but you don't want the second death. You don't want burning lake. You want kingdom of heaven. It's just the facts. But, okay, that's it. I don't have anything else to add. I'm going to end this video here. Low power mode almost popped up. I don't have anything else to add. I'm going to end this video here. Hopefully it elucidates something. Hopefully, I don't know. Am I going to put this on my YouTube? Maybe it'll go up as like, I'll say this, like, I don't know the title that I'm going to title this. If it does go on my YouTube, it might be like talking to my mom about Anja and Ambrosio, or like telling my mom about her grandchildren, Anja and Ambrosio, or something along those lines. It might be something like that, but I just think it's important to document as I'm going through all this, my thoughts on it, where I'm at, whatever. And then I do think at some point, whatever is going on will not be going on forever. Like, I don't think whatever has done this has enough power. Like, when it says at the Sixth Church thing, I'm going to open a door for you that nobody will be able to close, I think something has tried to close enough doors on me that they're going to be, when this other door is open, they've already condemned themselves. And I would just suggest to everybody else, you do not want to be connected to those people. You do not want to be a part of that. That is infinite bad decision. That's it. It's like the worst decision you could ever make ever. So, yeah, I'm gonna end this here. I hope it makes sense. Like, this is difficult, man. Like, the whole start of this, the whole point was to show that, like, even just like I can't even get my mom to put herself in the hypothetical headspace. Like, maybe someone has done this to me and you have grandkids. It's like, I absolutely think that's the reality, right? Until you can prove to me otherwise, like, whereas she absolutely thinks it's not the reality, to the point where she can't even she doesn't even know what a hypothetical scenario is at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, do you know what and it's clear to me she does understand the idea of a hypothetical scenario, but she just can't, like, I don't know, maybe right now at this moment she can't do it or something, but like, I know that I think she's loving, and I think she does care, but it's just too much for her to take. And like, I guess I do understand my whole point. Again, I've said this, but like, if they are my kids, the idea is that these people basically like bred me without my consent. I think that's a form of rape. And to my mom, that would be, it's difficult for me to take, but like, I think I have a pretty decent constitution, or like, like I have a good, I operate out of a space where like all sorts of anything can be possible, and I want to try to know and perceive what's going on around me. And I think the way that I deal with as bad as it could be is I put myself in a headspace that it could be really, really, really fucking bad, and that I just have to hope and pray that it's not as bad. And like, obviously being bred without my permission isn't great, and like, maybe they're abusing my kids is definitely not great, but like, some of the other scenarios that I've come up with are way worse, and I don't actually think, like, I don't think it got that bad, or I don't know if it's gotten that bad. And so I'm not, I can't entertain all of these terrible things that it could be, but it's bad enough what it actually seems to be, where I've been bred without my permission, and like yeah, I just want some kind of remedy to it. You know what I mean? Like I want some, by remedy, I want some kind of conclusion. I want a conclusion. I want it to resolve and conclude well for me on my side of things, and I want to be made whole, more than whole. I want it to be made up for me, and you know, I think the only thing that can do that is Yahweh. So I'm just going to continue to have faith in Yahweh. You know, Jesus and Yahweh, it's one and the same person. So keep having faith that that's the case. And yeah, so all right, I hope you enjoyed or didn't enjoy whatever. This is like a topic that maybe isn't that enjoyable, but I hope I was able to elucidate the situation a little more, explain myself a little more, and do it well, that you're able to see what's going on, or hear at least what's going on with my mom, and like why this might be even more difficult for me, with the idea that my support system, you know, basically thinks I'm crazy, or in the least like is demanding like the evidence that I would get. Like what she's demanding is enough evidence that I prove it out to her. But at that point, I ain't going to be proving it out to you, Cheryl. I'm going to be going to a judge and saying, here's this evidence that I have. You know what I mean? Like she's basically asking me to make the case to a judge. And it's like, well, you aren't the judge. Like, it doesn't matter what you think one way or the other. If they're my kids, it doesn't matter if you don't think they're my kids. If they aren't my kids and you think they're my kids, it doesn't matter. It's like your opinion doesn't. The way it should affect it is that you would then help me try to get a resolution to this. I'm not asking you, you know what I mean? Like, if I could prove it out, at that point, do I even need your support, or do I need, like, what am I looking for? And I'm just looking for your support and your kind of like understanding as to why I might be going through a difficult time, and the fact that she's not even able to like engage that it's a possibility is distressing to me, because like it's more than a possibility. Like, you know, when I'm pointing out the stuff with P. Diddy and Epstein, these people have been doing reprehensible shit for years, seemingly allowed to do reprehensible shit for years, until they were no longer useful, or until they overstepped and it caused more problems for the people that were allowing them, and then they dealt with it, right? But like, whatever this situation it is with Alessandra, Anja, and Noah Ambrosio, I need some kind of resolution. I need it to end. And I'm just hoping for one, and I'm praying for one. And in the instance, like I'm saying, I think, you know, at this point, it's looking like Alessandra's probably Jezebel. My guess is I'm just going to keep focusing on doing what I'm doing, and using kind of like art as like, you know, the fact that the art that I'm putting out seems to also be like some form of shield that I can use, is like, you know, I'm going to keep doing that, and having faith and hope and praying to Yahweh and Jesus, and, you know, we'll see what happens here. You know, I'm gonna hope it's the best, and, you know, I do have faith that Yahweh is faithful, and like when he's ready for it to end, it'll end. So, all right. Anyway, have a blessed one. I'll catch you next time. Later. Yeah. Anyway, adios.